Jamie Lynn Spears has indirectly chimed in about the Free Britney movement that's taking social media by storm. Although very little is known about Britney and what mental health issues she suffers from that are keeping her under conservatorship, someone who would have a better idea is Britney's own sister Jamie, right? I'm gonna tell you what she said right now on IO. What's gravy, y'all? This is IO. I'm Charlotte. Like, subscribe, follow #Browns. Let's get into the news. There has been an update on the Free Britney campaign, where fans are convinced Britney Spears is being held captive against her will. Britney's father has been her conservator for 12 years, which means Britney has no control over her business, finances, or personal affairs, despite the fact that she's done 3 world tours, released 4 albums, and had a very successful Las Vegas residency. Yet Britney has to ask for permission to do everything, as if she were a child. Apparently, her father and lawyer keep track of all of her purchases, and even if she gets a drink at Starbucks, they know about it. She isn't allowed to go get a lawyer and negotiate the conservatorship or her rights, and the exact details of the conservatorship are kept private, as are her diagnosis and treatment plan. In the wake of some pretty concerning remarks made by Kanye West on Twitter, there's a big discussion being had right now about mental health, especially celebrity mental health. Jamie Lynn Spears has taken to Instagram to join the discussion, posting this tweet by Halsey directed at Kanye West and other people suffering with bipolar disorder. No jokes right now. I have dedicated my career to offering education and insight about bipolar disorder, and I'm so disturbed by what I'm seeing. Personal opinions about someone aside, a manic episode isn't a joke. If you can't offer understanding or sympathy, offer your silence. So after Jamie Lynn posted this screenshot, she responded to a fan in the comments who criticized her silence surrounding the Free Britney movement. The fan wrote, "How about your sister's obvious mental illness? Why don't you speak on that?" And Jamie responds with, "You have no right to assume anything about my sister, and I have no right to speak about her mental health and personal matters. She's a strong, badass, unstoppable woman, and that's the only thing that is obvious." I just kinda thought of something though. Like, why was she reposting something about bipolar disorder? Maybe Britney has bipolar disorder? Is that a possibility? Maybe it's something completely unrelated. Anyways, just a thought. Now, while I agree that we don't know fully what's happening with Britney's mental health, that is kept a secret and it definitely doesn't help the situation. Maybe people knew why she was under a conservatorship at age 38, like maybe we had doctors vouching for the reason, etc. People wouldn't be so quick to judge. She very well could be under a conservatorship for a good reason, but we just don't know the reason. Interestingly, the tweet that Jamie posted has disappeared from her Instagram. It's likely that the Free Britney movement weren't satisfied with her response. I found the comment reposted on the account Comments by Celebs, and yep, there was definitely some criticism happening in the comments of that post. Here were some of the responses to Jamie Lynn Spears. "Because she knows there is no mental illness, she's being held captive and they all profit from it. It's dirty as hell and she deserves better." This is actually true. According to a New York Times report, Jamie Spears made an annual salary of $130,000 and was giving 1.5% of the gross revenues from Britney Spears' Las Vegas residency. Here is a sign from a Free Britney protest that took place on July 22, 2020. "Jail Jamie, Free Britney, investigate Lou." Next response, "Nah, there is still way too much wrong going on for Brit. Her sister should be stepping in by now, kinda ridiculous. It's not her mental health, it's her fraudulent conservatorship and her father medicating her. That's why we want her to make her own life choices. She is a mother." Next, "She doesn't have to speak publicly about her sister, but I hope she is helping her. Cause there are definitely some obvious signs wrong about the Britney that should not be ignored. And if Jamie chooses to ignore it, she is no better than her father."
Maybe I didn't support her the way the public would like me to, with a hashtag on a public platform, but I can assure you that I've supported my sister long before there was a hashtag, and I'll support her long after.
Britney Spears' sister Jamie Lynn is now addressing the backlash she's been receiving over not helping her sister get out of this conservatorship. I'm gonna get into all of those details in just a moment, but first, if you could do us a big favor and please tap that like button, we'd really appreciate it. And with that out of the way, let's begin. So for starters, I would like to actually start with a quote from Britney's testimony, and then we'll get right into what her sister is saying about the whole situation. During her testimony, Britney said, "Not only did my family not do a goddamn thing, but my dad was all for it. Anything that happened to me had to be approved by my dad. And my dad acted like he didn't know that I was told I had to be tested over the Christmas holidays before they sent me away when my kids went home to Louisiana. He was the one who approved all of it. My whole family did nothing." That last part is very important because now her sister Jamie Lynn Spears is trying to make it clear that she has always supported and loved her sister. In the days following Britney's emotional plea for her release from this conservatorship, we heard from most people that actually played a role and benefited from the situation. Everyone from her parents, well, her parents' lawyers that is, to Perez Hilton and even Justin Timberlake. The question on everyone's mind though was, when is her sister going to break her silence on the matter? Even her ex-husband Kevin Federline made a statement, again through his lawyer, and now finally Jamie Lynn is saying that she wants nothing but happiness for her sister and that she always has and always will support her. In a series of videos that were posted to her Instagram stories, Jamie Lynn started off by saying, "Hey everybody, I just want to take a second to address a few things. The only reason I haven't before is because I felt like until my sister was able to speak for herself and say what she felt she needed to say publicly, that it wasn't my place and it wasn't the right thing to do. But now that she's very clearly spoken and said what she needed to say, I feel like I can follow her lead and say what I feel I need to say." I mean, at least she's not using legal jargon as well as speaking through a lawyer, but we'll give her that just for starters. But nonetheless, she continues by saying, "I think it's extremely clear since the day I was born, I have only loved, adored, and supported my sister. I mean, this is my freaking big sister. Before any of this bullshit, I don't care if she wants to run away to the rainforest and have a zillion babies in the middle of nowhere, or if she wants to come back and dominate the world the way she's done so many times before, because I have nothing to gain or lose either way. This situation does not affect me either way because I am only her sister who is only concerned about her happiness." The main reason Jamie Lynn was getting a lot of backlash for not speaking up for her sister earlier is mainly stemming from the fact that last August it was revealed that she was named the trustee of Britney's multi-million-dollar trust in 2018. So trust, she had time, and on top of that, she added that she made a conscious decision to only participate in her life as a sister and aunt to her boys. So you'd think if someone was spending the average amount of time that you would with your sister, let's say, and her nephews, you'd think that she would have witnessed maybe some progress along the way, enough so that maybe she thought her sister should dissolve the conservatorship. But no one decided to even tell her that she could petition to end this thing and reclaim her life. Instead, they just became content with the fact that Britney was building their wealth over these years and not spending any of it on herself. It's also important to remember that Britney also said during the testimony, "Considering my family has lived off my conservatorship for 13 years, I won't be surprised if one of them has something to say going forward and say, we don't think this should end, we have to help her, especially if I get my fair turn exposing what they did to me." Now, while she did name drop her father a few times, I can't help but get over the fact that she constantly referred to her family as a whole. She keeps saying they did this to me, which implies that Jamie was too afraid either to step in, and her mother probably just sat back while her father ran this whole thing. Just me speculating, of course. But towards the end of her video, Jamie did express that she will always support Britney no matter what, and that if ending the conservatorship is what makes her happy, she will support that.
We love you, Britney!
We really need to talk about Jamie Lynn Spears. Yes, she did come out and say that she supported her sister, but her recent behavior proves otherwise. After Britney put her on blast twice in less than 24 hours, Jamie Lynn deleted her original IG caption, and now everyone is calling her out on it. I'm gonna get into all of those details in just a moment, but first, if you could do us a big favor and please tap that like button, we'd really appreciate it. And with that out of the way, let's begin. So if you didn't know, Britney and her sister Jamie Lynn have been feuding with each other over Instagram in these last few days. However, recently the drama hit an all-time high, and Jamie Lynn was caught clearly backtracking and gaslighting her sister. The pressure was really put onto Jamie Lynn to say something about this conservatorship last month when Britney told the judge that she wished she could sue her whole family, citing that they all did nothing to help her and only watched as she struggled under the control of her father. During her testimony, she said, "I would honestly like to sue my family, to be totally honest with you. I also would like to be able to share my story with the world and what they did to me, instead of it being a hush-hush secret to benefit all of them. I'm told I'm not allowed to expose the people who did this to me." Notice how she kept saying all of them. That includes you too, Jamie Lynn. Not too long after her bombshell testimony was released to the public, Jamie took to her Instagram stories to deny that Britney was referencing her in those statements. She went on to say how much she adored and supported her sister, but if you watch the video, she seemed a little bit annoyed that she even had to make a public statement about this. This is evident when she acts very dismissive towards what her sister would do with her life if she was free. In her response, she said, "Since the day I was born, I've only loved, adored, and supported my sister. I mean, this is my freaking big sister before any of this BS. I don't care if she wants to run away to a rainforest and have a zillion babies in the middle of nowhere, or if she wants to come back and dominate the world the way she has done so many times before, because I have nothing to gain or lose either way. This situation does not affect me either way because I'm only her sister who's only concerned about her happiness. It's the run away to a rainforest for me." Has she honestly even listened to what her sister has been asking for? She's really just saying, "Okay, I talked about how great she is, y'all, now can you leave me alone?" She went on to talk about how she was so proud of her sister for using her voice to speak about about this conservatorship, but she seemed resentful of Britney's fans who have been advocating for her freedom for years. However, just days later, the feud between these two began. First, Britney shut Jamie down by shading her on Instagram with this post and said, "Never forget who ignored you when you needed them and who helped you before you even had to ask." And on the caption of that post, Britney went in on all of the people who were supposedly close to her that stood by and did nothing. This one section though is clearly directed at her sister, where she says, "How dare you make it public that now you care? Did you put your hand out when I was drowning? Again, no. So if you're reading this and you know who you are and you actually have the nerve to say anything about my situation just to save face for yourself publicly, if you're gonna post something, please stop with the righteous approach when you're so far from righteous it's not even funny." Although the shade from Britney did not stop there. She hit back at her sister again with this post that said, "For those of you who choose to criticize my dancing videos, look, I'm not gonna be performing on any stages anytime soon with my dad handling what I wear, say, do, or think. I've done that for the past 13 years. I'd much rather share videos, yes, from my living room instead of on stage in Vegas, where some people were so far gone they couldn't even shake my hand and ended up getting a contact high from weed all the time. Which I didn't mind, but it would have been nice to be able to go to the motherfucking spa. And no, I'm not gonna put on heavy makeup and try on stage again and not be able to do the real deal with remixes of my songs for years." The post continues with her taking direct shots at her sister, adding, "And begging to put my new music in my shows for my fans. So I quit. I don't like that my sister showed up at an award show and performed my songs to remixes. My so-called support system hurt me deeply. This conservatorship killed my dreams. So all I have is hope, and hope is the only thing in this world that is very hard to kill. Yet people still try. I didn't like the way the documentaries bring up humiliating moments from my past. I'm way past all that and have been for a long time. And for women who say it's weird the way I still have hope for fairy tales, go f yourself. As I said, hope is all I have right now. You're lucky I post anything at all." Then in response to all of this, many fans believe that Jamie's recent post was her way of responding. She writes in a now deleted caption, "May the peace of the Lord be with you and your spirit." But then it didn't take too long for Britney to hit back with, "May the Lord wrap your mean ass up in joy today." And then, as if she was refreshing Britney's feed constantly, Jamie actually went back to her original post to delete the caption that she had written. But fans called her out for it, with one user on Twitter saying, "Jamie Lynn changing the caption 9 hours later." One thing has become clear throughout all of this though, and it's the fact that Britney certainly does not like her sister Jamie Lynn. This little feud really goes back a long way as well, and I want to give credit to the Twitter page called Britney the Stan, who did a huge deep dive into all of these shady ways that Jamie Lynn contributed to her sister being locked into a conservatorship. According to them, Britney Spears and her sister Jamie Lynn have a very complicated relationship because they didn't grow up in a house together. There's a 10-year age gap between them, and Britney was already very famous as her little sister was growing up. In 2006, when Jamie was cast to play Zoe 101, she also came into contact with a religious nut named Lou Taylor, someone who describes herself as being married to a godly man and being a submissive wife. Well, this Lou character comes into play several times throughout Britney's life as well. Let's take a look at this email sent from Britney back in 2007. In the email, she calls Lou Taylor a crazy lady and a stalker, even asking the person she is sending the message to, "Do you care if I'm dead? Because I cannot sign your checks if I am. Your client, Britney Jean Spears." Then at the height of Britney's troubles in 2008, this Lou Taylor lady started doing interviews with the press and actually referred to herself as the Spears family spokesperson.
And here you have Britney that needs to have some security somewhere that every single thing she does and every single person she has a relationship with doesn't become an opportunity to be exploited.
The irony of her talking about Britney's safety when she was the one being the security threat that Britney was worried about in that email. The biggest piece of damning evidence against Jamie Lynn and Lou Taylor here is how involved Lou became in starting this conservatorship, which ultimately benefited Jamie Lynn Spears. Again, according to that Twitter thread, sources have told the media that Lou Taylor was the mastermind of Britney's conservatorship, but Jamie Lynn had continued to remain extremely close with her. By 2018, Jamie was secretly named the trustee of her sister's fortune, and then she attempted to move some of that money into Lou Taylor's old investment firm called Stonebridge. Plus, remember how Jamie Lynn was saying in her video addressing Britney's testimony that she doesn't need any of her sister's money? Well, Jamie, then why is it that people have exposed the expense records showing that you used your sister's money for flights? I mean, several times. I know this is a lot of information to swallow, and if you are a fan of Zoe 101, then I am terribly sorry, but the fact that she has been able to lie about this stuff for so long just doesn't seem right. If you watched our video on the dark truth about Jamie Lynn Spears, then you'll know that she has been feuding with her sister on Instagram for the past few weeks. On top of that, she put out a video defending herself to the Free Britney movement, but many people did not take her seriously. Additionally, she keeps getting exposed for lying, and today you're not going to believe what she did now. I'm going to tell you all about it right here on IO in just a moment, but first, if you could do us a big favor and please tap that like button, we'd really appreciate it. And with that out of the way, let's begin. Britney Spears fans are exposing Jamie Lynn Spears right now after her husband was caught in 4K peeping one of Britney's latest Instagram posts. Her husband Jamie Watson can clearly be seen in an image that was posted by Jamie Lynn herself, checking out a post from his sister-in-law. Eagle-eyed supporters of the Free Britney movement noticed that he was looking at this post from Britney that said, "Do you know what really turns me on? What I find incredibly sexy? Kindness." And what fans were upset about though was that her husband was checking out a post that was literally smack dab in the middle of 2 photos of Britney topless. And the Britney Stan account tweeted about this and said, "Not Jamie Lynn's husband checking out the book post in between Britney's titties. How embarrassing." Other accounts online also thought that it was very strange that Jamie Lynn and her husband would be keeping such a close eye on Britney's social media, especially after Jamie Lynn said that she didn't really care about how her sister wanted to live her life, although we all know deep down that she really cares about what's happening right now. Britney is finally getting the chance to talk about how her family treated her in this 13-year conservatorship, and unfortunately for Jamie Lynn, that meant that she too was going to get exposed. If you recall from the Dark Truth video that I did, Jamie Lynn surprised her sister at an award show. And when speaking about that night, Britney said, "I don't like that my sister showed up at an award show and performed my songs to remixes. My so-called support system hurt me deeply. This conservatorship killed my dreams, so all I have is hope, and hope is the only thing in this world that is very hard to kill, yet people still try. I didn't like the way that the documentaries bring up humiliating moments from my past. I'm way past all that and have been for a long time." After that post, it became even more apparent that these two simply can't stand each other. Well, at least we know that Britney can't stand her little sister. More fans pointed out the obsession that Jamie and her husband have right now though with Britney's social media and said, "Jamie Lynn and her husband are obsessed with Britney." Now what's wild here is that all of this only came about because Jamie Lynn was attempting to defend herself against some critics. These critics had slammed her for implying that Britney's Florida condo was also owned by her. In the caption of the post where she accidentally exposed what her husband was looking at on his phone, Jamie Lynn said, "I don't own a condo and I can assure you that no one has ever bought me a place at the beach because I prefer my beach vacations at the Ritz anyways. Simple facts y'all need to stop reaching." Although to refresh Jamie's memory, she did tweet out in 2015, "We have a condo in Destin, Florida and it's the best getaway." So it's not really that much of a reach for people to assume that she was talking about the condo that Britney's money had paid for. This comes just days after a report suggested that Britney paid for a condo that Jamie Lynn has apparently claimed as her own on several occasions, despite her assertion that she isn't on her sister's payroll. However, according to tax documents that were obtained by The Sun, Britney had indeed purchased a condo in Destin, Florida back in 2001 before this conservatorship was put into place. Now at the very least, this means that Jamie Lynn has probably been taking advantage of this vacation home for many years, which is actually something that Britney mentioned during her testimony on July 14th. After her June testimony went so viral, the courts did not allow for the July 14th hearing to be recorded again, although a Free Britney advocate managed to make their way inside and reported that Britney said her family was vacationing in her beach house while she was locked up in the mental facility against her will. "There must be something wrong with you," Britney said Jamie told her as to why she was there. Now what is super ridiculous here is that the first photo of Jamie's husband creeping Britney's profile was later edited by Jamie and reposted before being deleted altogether. Over top of her husband's phone, she added a banner that reads, "He's always working." I mean, if you call keeping tabs on his sister-in-law working, then yeah, I guess he's been hard at work.